I was very humbled actually. It was very overwhelming. Uh, I didn't expect that at all. And I actually, in my own head, and how I felt, I was like, okay, I'm going to retire, but I don't want to be in the Hall of Fame yet. But when Jake said, uh, I would like to induct you in the Hall of Fame, and that honestly, the place went, it was electric.
Hello everyone and welcome to That Sweet Pop. My name's Tu Meke, and he is Brad Lewis. Later on the show we bring you part 2 of our exclusive interview with Tahi Vinny Dunn, soon to be New Zealand's latest professional wrestling Hall of Famer. But Brad, I needed to check in. Are all symptoms of the man flu gone?
Thank you, my friend. Yes, they are. No longer feeling sick as a dog. I'm feeling much better. But you've had a very busy weekend, Mr. McCracken.
Yeah, I have. Yes, I was ring announcing Clash for Construction, a charity boxing event in Auckland this past weekend. 19 belts and the voice box held out. Incredible cause. Great to be involved with the crew. And there's another show in November in Christchurch, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, I had been concerned about you because, as everyone knows, man flu is the worst of all the flus. But glad to see that you've sprung out of things.
If only women would understand that too, Dion, would be a much safer place to live.
I ain't touching that. Let's get straight into our top story. Well, I think everyone can agree no one had this on their 2025 bingo card. The vision is either no more or continuing without Seth Rollins. So WWE Raw after Crown Jewel this past weekend. At the end of the show, Seth Rollins and the Vision stood over a beaten CM Punk. And what came next? That spear by Bron Breakker. You know, very rarely do I get to use the phrase heard around the world when it comes to professional wrestling, but this does feel like one of those moments. The Vision is no more. Brad, were you shooketh?
I was shooketh. Unfortunately for me, Dion, I was working on Tuesday and had the mistake of scrolling through Twitter at the back end of my shift and saw this vision, pardon the pun, of Braun and Heyman standing above Seth Rollins, and my inner monologue was like, okay, need to watch this. What the F? So on the drive home, chucked on Netflix, put on Raw, and watched the opening segment, the main event, and the back end of it. And I was shocked. Even watching it, knowing what would happen, I was shocked, because I had seen on social media this photo that some punter/fan had posted in Perth, around the streets of Perth, while eating an ice cream of Seth Rollins in a black sling. And I was just like, surely Seth is trolling here, as per usual, because the coast to coast, which is where apparently this injury has come from, was a hell of a move during that match. And I think I told you via text a couple of days ago that I've watched the match again, and I still don't see that he was hurt, because he worked the rest of the next 10 minutes of the match perfectly fine. But clearly there's an issue there, right? And if there's not, and WWE's trying to ruse us again, I think that's a very, very bad play from them.
Yeah, well, it is a boy who cried wolf kind of situation, isn't it? I mean, we all remember back at SummerSlam where Seth Rollins captured the World Heavyweight Championship by cashing in against the new champ, CM Punk, after being out of action for several weeks with that injured knee. I think this time we're not going to get a boy who cried wolf situation. Like you say, it'd be pretty crazy for that to go down again, and it would make no sense. I mean, what would Seth Rollins be feigning an injury to be taken out by his fellow Vision members? So that ain't happening. This guy is injured. Clearly, he's going to be out for quite some time. You would expect it's going to be.
Well, it's apparently worst case scenario rotator cuff, which is 9 months. That's what Liv Morgan's had, right? Like dislocated shoulder and a rotator cuff. So, and that's what Rhea Ripley had, a rotator cuff when she got injured post WrestleMania last year. So, and that was a 9-month spell. So yeah, it's really unfortunate, but what it does do, Dion, is it creates opportunity.
It does. And what a conversation this must have been. I mean, they had 48 hours to decide whether they were going to pull the trigger. I mean, there was every chance that Seth Rollins could have vacated the championship, possibly even stayed on television. I guess the call must have been made that that was just untenable and they needed to pull the trigger early. And I do say early because it is early. Yes, we saw Bronson Reed get that big victory over Roman Reigns. You can't quite say that he's made, but damn close to it. I think the fact that Bron Breakker is Bron Breakker means that he's almost made himself. But we know what an incredible athlete he is. What a great look he's got. We are a little bit unsure how he's going to be on the mic, but hey, Paul Heyman's in and around and looks to have sided with those two. You would have expected, or at least I did, that we would see the vision stick together through WrestleMania. There were rumors that potentially Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns was a WrestleMania matchup. Maybe we were going to get a situation, as we've seen many times with other factions, where the leader gets a high-profile loss, e.g. Seth Rollins loses to Roman Reigns, following night on Raw, then we see the turn. Again, that trigger has been pulled early. Here's my question to you.
Yeah.
Where do you think we go now with these two? Do you think, if you crystal ball gaze, we're going to see the Bronze with Paul Heyman? Do you think the group is going to expand a la DX after WrestleMania 14, after Shawn Michaels took time off from injury? What are your thoughts?
Can I give you two answers?
Of course.
Here is what I want to see happen. And I've done a bit of thinking about this today, Dion. I would, it looks like Roman Reigns is going away for the rest of the year, right? I would put an SOS out to Roman and say, I need you for that Saturday night's main event in a couple of weeks' time, which is where apparently Punk and Rollins was going to main event. And I would have a 6-pack challenge elimination match. And it would be the two Bronze, CM Punk, LA Knight, Jey Uso, and Roman Reigns. Those are the 6 individuals that have all been in and around this whole, and that would be for the world title. And you've got a lot of intertwining storylines. And I'd have Bron Breakker pin Roman Reigns clean. This is all in my mind if Seth Rollins is out post WrestleMania. I would have Bron Breakker and Roman Reigns, the last two guys in the ring, and Bron pins Roman, wins the title, and Roman chases through to Mania. That's what I would do. What do I think they're going to do? I think that Bron Breakker probably still ends up winning the title at some point in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I don't know how that's all going to play out. Saturday night's main event seems the logical place. And does he just step into the shoes of Seth Rollins and we have CM Punk versus Bron Breakker coming up, or do they go another way about it, or does Seth Rollins do the right thing and hands the title over to his visionary partner or whatever, or his former visionary partner? Look, I don't know, but I think they have a real chance here to build to Mania in a whole bunch of different ways, while also making Bron Breakker by having him pin Roman clean, and then Roman chases Bron for the rest of the year and through to Mania, and that's our WrestleMania main event on night 2. And my night 1 main event is Cody Rhodes versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight title when Punk wins the Rumble. So that's me fantasy booking. What do I think they're going to do? That's the best thing about this whole thing is I don't actually know. Like, they have a plan. Bron held up the title. So Bron Breakker held up the title, not Bronson Reed, right? When they went off the air, which is interesting because Bronson Reed has just beaten Roman Reigns, who was the guy, right? So, but this is Bron Breakker's stable now because he said, you're either with me or you're down there with him. And so, look, I don't know. I feel like they need to include Jey, LA Knight, and CM Punk in all of this some way because they've all been involved in this vision story. But yeah, I don't know where they go, but what I want to see is that 6-pack challenge. I reckon that would be a hell of a match and would draw a big spiky number for them as well.
I think the biggest beneficiaries of this are going to be CM Punk or LA Knight. It's an odd situation because here is the Vision, who you could argue is the strongest faction in WWE right now. Again, that is up for debate. the fact that they've just knocked their leader out makes you think that whoever is going to take up that mantle as the leader, and it does look like it's going to be Bron Breakker, would have great success coming his way. I just don't think he's ready for that World Heavyweight Championship. So
was the Rock ready?
Yeah, I don't know if that comparison's fair. I hear what you're saying, and quite often people just aren't. You don't think that they're the guy. They get the strap on them, they become the guy. But then again, you also have someone like Damian Priest, who I would suggest maybe hasn't continued to be the guy post. Yes, he was the leaderless champion during that stint, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think this could go so many ways, and I just don't know where it is going to go.
Yeah, and also intertwined in this is whether or not they add new members. Where does Brock Lesnar play into all of this? Dion, they have a real opportunity now to involve John Cena in this as well, and potentially, be involved in his final match. Maybe they change that now, and maybe Bron Breakker's his final match, and John Cena challenges for a title. I don't know. They could definitely slot John Cena into this for the last 2 months of his career. He's only got 4 dates left. I don't know how they do that, but my mind's just sort of thinking out loud as we go along here. But on your point on you don't think Bron Breakker's ready, I guess in this industry you don't know until you try. And like a lot of people probably didn't think MJF was ready to be AEW world champion. He's been the best world champion they've had, right? Like certainly in terms of ratings, like people would tune in to watch that guy. I don't think Hangman Page is a world champion, but that's just me. A lot of people would disagree with me. But I think Bron Breakker proved in NXT and even like through his Intercontinental title reign that I think he is. And mate, the crowd absolutely loves him, heel or babyface. I mean, they want to see Bron Breakker spear someone. He's got that Goldberg aura, that big Papa Pomp aura about him, like obviously that's his uncle, right? But yeah, I think he is ready, and I think you strap the rocket ship to him. You give him a clean pinfall over Roman Reigns, and you just say, the ball is yours, my friend. You either drop it or you carry it and you score that touchdown.
Well, one thing is for sure, this isn't WWE's first rodeo when it comes to this sort of thing, right? I mean, I mentioned DX earlier. Clearly, Shawn Michaels was going to be leaving in 1998 with that serious back injury that he pushed through for WrestleMania 14. And what did that lead to? The Triple H that we know now. It probably led to the WWE we know now. Without that dodgy back of Shawn Michaels, maybe Triple H wouldn't be running the show at the moment. But that was a great opportunity for DX to reinvent itself. Maybe it is for the Vision if the Vision continues, or if the Vision is deemed to have been Seth Rollins' baby, and this just becomes whatever it becomes. Judgment Day was much the same with Edge, right? So although it's not their first rodeo, I think it's going to be a real test of this apparent change in direction, creative direction that we've heard so much about. There's a possibility they could drop the ball on this one. Time's going to tell.
Absolutely.
But I think it is a huge opportunity for someone else to pick up that mantle as World Heavyweight Champion and really run with it.
Okay, so for you and your opinion is you don't think Bron Breakker is ready, and that opinion is yours. It's right. Like, we're all entitled to it. Who do you want to see walk out of this at Saturday night's main event as the new World Heavyweight Champ?
I think it would make sense for a CM Punk to get the title back. I don't think he's going to be chasing Seth Rollins or getting retribution anytime in the next year. He's clearly the guy in WWE, regardless of who's holding any form of championship. I think he would be someone who could be a real good flag bearer for Raw. Whether that's enough for the Vision to get some momentum by whether it's chasing Punk or whether they go off on other things. So, look, if I was heading to the TAB, I'd probably put a couple of bucks on CM Punk. I also would not be surprised if this becomes LA Knight's moment. Just because Seth Rollins loses the title doesn't mean that Bron or either of the Brons are the ones that automatically pick it up. So many options. I'm going to put my money on CM Punk. I think I'm wrong, but I'm still going to put my money on it.
Yeah, I wouldn't, Dion, I don't know about this, but I wouldn't rule out like an Obafemi or something like that potentially as well, or a Trick Williams or one of the, just to put them in a spot. Like, I don't think that's going to happen, but I think all cards could be on the table here. And can you imagine right now, as we're recording this, these discussions are probably going on internally. We've seen WWE Unreal. We know that there was a WrestleMania card that barely any of that ever came to fruition after watching that documentary. These guys, Triple H and his brains trust, are talking through all these options right now. And like you said, they may not get it right, but I just think, like, my advice to them, not that I've earned the right to give them advice, is man, just do something that we don't expect, because you've got a real opportunity now. That's where I would go.
Yeah, but I don't know that they've got the opportunity to experiment. Obafemi is the future world heavyweight champion, absolutely. But my fear would be, if they put the strap on him right now, that it would be seen as a step backwards. I think they really just need to pump something big into this. I think it needs to be an established star. Man, the next couple of weeks are going to be fascinating to see, and we've still got to see, and assumed, and it is all an assumption at this stage, handing over of the championship by Seth Rollins. That's going to set everything up. That's got to set everything up.
Look, only time will tell. I like the LA Knight idea. I think you have the opportunity to turn him heel here and have Punk chase him going into the end of the year. I just think that what SmackDown needs right now is CM Punk. And I think that if you slowly now transition him, now that his number one feud in Rollins is gone, you transition him over to SmackDown, where he can work with Drew, he can work with Cody, and you split him and Roman up so that you've got Roman versus Braun Breaker or Seth Rollins, whoever that is, at WrestleMania, and on the other side you have Cody and CM Punk or Drew McIntyre. That's where I think they need to have their big guns heading into March.
You talk about the butterfly effect. I mean, this could be a pivotal moment in the next, certainly in the lead up to WrestleMania, maybe the next 6, 12, 18 months. We could be looking back on this injury of Seth Rollins having made someone by accident.
Yeah,
Time will tell.
This is an opportunity for sure.
All right, folks, be interesting to hear your thoughts on where the vision's going. Please make sure you hit us up on social media. But hey, after the break, we're going to finish off with part 2 of our interview with upcoming New Zealand Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer, Te Tahi, Vinny Dunn. So it's been 21 years that you've been in the business. 2004, like I said, was your debut. In that time, you've seen and done it all in this modern period of New Zealand professional wrestling. If you were to compare 2004 New Zealand scene to 2025 New Zealand scene, what are your thoughts on that?
I think the people that were there 21 years ago were ahead of their time. And I'll never shit on them. I'll never say, oh, they weren't this, they weren't that. Because, the way pro wrestling works is it's the older guys help the younger guys. That's how it works. They impart their vision, their knowledge onto the younger guys, and that's how they learn. When OPW started, they had a disconnect between the old guys and them. And there was about 6 or 7 years where there was no pro wrestling in New Zealand. And so I know that some of them reached out to certain people. I'm not obviously naming it. They just reached out, and obviously some of the old guys didn't want to know, which is fair enough. So they had to start somewhere. And they probably started in the dark. But they really worked hard to try and make something. And the wrestling today here, the product wouldn't be what it is if they didn't pioneer and work, their tails off to actually, to make it so we've got it today. So, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Well, speaking of today, are there any wrestlers that you've got your eye on? Look, I know you're still involved behind the scenes, passing on your knowledge. Is there anyone you got your eye on where you think, do you know what? If this one applies themselves, they could really make a career out of this overseas?
Sam Spartan, I got a lot of time for him. Him and I, 2 or 3 years ago, had some real honest chats about him and his work and his look. And he's someone that really wants to, he really wants to give it a good go. And, if he keeps applying himself, he's obviously in England at the moment, wrestling 3 to 4 nights a week. He's over there doing it. If he keeps supplying himself, I think we can see him do really, really well. There's a young fella, quite a few guys through the school that are coming through. Perfect Peter Parr. That kid's 105 kilos, 6'2". He's going to be very talented. He's coming through. A young guy called Xander Taylor. He's 16. And just watching him at training, he's for a 16-year-old kid, he's pretty talented. Like, he's in the ring and we do a bit of walk and talk. Walk and talks where you don't plan any match. You just go, you ding, 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 and you call it in the ring. And we do that training quite a bit. And he's you just hear him talking away. Like, he's vetting some of the older guys, And it's just awesome to see because he's 2 or 3 trainings a week. He's putting in the effort. He's, for a kid that young, I think, watch this space. He will be probably one of our best. And I'd like to give a little, my favourite pro wrestler at the moment in New Zealand is Jake Sheehan. I'm good friends with him, and he cares about what he does, and he's very slick. His footwork, his timing in the ring is very nice, and I've been lucky enough to be part of his career from the start. I gave him his first match, and just to see where he's come from there to now, it's just huge. And he's always open to advice. He's always seeking out, help, or he wants to be better. But what I love is that he takes your advice and he doesn't just do what you say. He'll take it, tick, and then he turns it with his own spin on it.
Right.
And that's what you want. So I can see he's probably my favorite at the moment. That's why, I wanted my last match to be with him because I knew he'd look after me and I knew he'd make me look like $1 million.
Well, it's great to see you still involved and, again, passing that knowledge along and mentoring this generation of New Zealand professional wrestlers. And speaking of mentors, of course, you didn't do this on your own. Peter Lane was such a New Zealand wrestling legend. And, you talked earlier about the early days of IPW, trying to build that connection with the previous generation, which didn't really come off until along came Peter. Well, certainly a couple had been involved. I shouldn't say that no one came along to share knowledge, but Peter came around, hung around, stuck around. He's a former middleweight champion. He competed in the on-the-mat era. He was a mentor to you. He managed you for years. He passed just over a year ago. What did Peter Lane mean to you?
Peter wouldn't give you his opinion unless you asked. He's a very respectful, knowledgeable man, and he was the only one of the older guys. Well, like you said, there might be a couple others, but he just stuck around. He was always there, and I remember when I changed my name from the one Vinny Dunn to Te Tahi Vinny Dunn. And I knew, obviously Te Tahi is the one, but I wanted that Māori culture that I have to be part of me. And then I wanted Te Tahi to have, like the Shawn Michaels, Jose Lothario type thing. I wanted people to, just to associate me with a bit more wrestling instead of brawling, or what my character was at that time. And it was quite cool because Pete came on and he managed me to 3 New Zealand titles, and it was amazing because the advice that Pete would give me at that time, I didn't really understand it. And then when I went overseas and I came back, and even now, in my later career, it was like things he'd say would come back in my head. Oh, that's what he meant then. It's like, oh, right. Because, Peter grew up and he was a legitimate middleweight champion, amateur wrestling middleweight champion in New Zealand. He was the best in New Zealand. And to be a middleweight and to still be on the cards back then, because it was all heavyweights. The heavyweights got everything. So there's only one middleweight match every card, and he was on it. And it was only because he was legitimate. So everything, when he came with his advice was all from a legitimate wrestling base, which I didn't really understand at the time, like I said, till I went away, and then all that kind of stuff started clicking. And Pete and I it wasn't just a gimmick either. He didn't just turn up on Saturday and he was my manager. We used to train together. We'd be at the Stanmore Bay Leisure Centre, and we were, we'd train chest, and then we'd be legs, and then back, through the week. And he'd just be talking to me about wrestling, the old days. And then he'd be going, oh, I don't think you should do this in the ring. Don't think you should do that in the ring. It was just, he was like a real mentor manager type deal at the time. I remember a funny story, actually. He was 60 and I was prime Vinny Dunn. I was 29 or 30 or whatever I was. I was in the best shape of my life. And we're doing chest. And we, right at the end of our workout, I said, all right, brother. All right, old man. How many press-ups can you do? He said, I can do 1 more than you. I said, bullshit. So I went, I'll go first because I'm the champ. And I get down there, bang, 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 bang. And I think I got, this is at the end of a chest workout. I think I got like 45, 46, 46 one terrible press up. Pete gets down there. He gets to 46. He looks up, winks at me, bangs out another 5. He did 51.
Nice.
At 60 and I'm 30. In my prime too. I was very strong at the time. And he got up. That's how you do it, young fella. So, just little stories like that. And then I actually, we broke up on, and broke up. And I had a match with him. And I remember him saying to me, I planned the match, right? He was just smiling at me. And he goes, when you go out, because I'm a T-shirt on, with my tight T-shirt on, he said, don't take it off. He goes, I want to put it over your head. I said, oh, yeah, okay. So I got out there and I took my T-shirt off. And I was like, oh, shit, I want to put it back on. And he comes out, he's laughing. And I'm like, what is he laughing at? And then when he pulled the T-shirt over my head, so he put it over my head so I couldn't see. So he starts, forearming me, and I'm selling with this T-shirt like this. And he goes, oh, you idiot, I told you to leave it on, eh? And you took it off, eh? Hey, you take it off, and then and I remember just being inside the T-shirt, my hands up because I was, so tight, and it was over my head, I couldn't see it. Bang! I was like, oh, lighten up, old man! Bang again, and then. I think the end of it was I finally got the T-shirt off, and I think I rolled him up. He put me over. Pete put me over, and I remember we just about got knifed going to the back, because we had so much heat. Me pinning a 65-year-old man. But so yeah, we had the last match, and then we obviously were in touch. We talked all the time, and then he called me. And he he said, "Oh, I got some bad news." And I said, "Oh, what's that?" He said, I've got lung cancer." And I was like, "Oh." He goes, "Yeah, probably got like 6 months to a year to live." And I was like, "Oh shit." So from then on, it went on 3 years. Pete and I probably spoke for an hour on the phone three nights a week.
Mm.
And it was awesome, mate. Like, near the end, it was just nice to be able to say goodbye, you know?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And yeah, it was, very nice to say goodbye. I felt, though, at the funeral, I was just struggling with it, eh? And I got up because he wanted me to speak, and there wasn't many people that got to speak. And I remember I got up there, and I didn't cry, I wasn't emotional. I was just a little bit empty inside. And I remember sitting down, and I was like, "Oh, I don't know if that's how Pete wanted me," you know? He knew me, obviously he knew me, but the wrestler side was Tahi Vinny Dunn, and I was just Vincent Dunn, you know. And so the LPW guys came to me and they said, "We want to put on a Peter Lane tournament, a tournament for just to honour Pete." And I was like, "Man, that would be awesome." So I thought, you know what? I'm going to give him Te Tahi Vinny Dunn. I'm going to give him what I should have given him at the funeral in my head. So I did 13 weeks out from the tournament. I did this diet, this whole change of my life, and it was amazing. And then we got to honour him in the night, and at the end there, with his wife and the whole family, there's probably like 20 members of his family there. Just after the match, I just sat in the corner, and to me it was like, yes, we got to honour Pete, you know, and it was, for me, it wasn't just me. It was the fact that all the young guys that didn't really, the young guys didn't really know him that well, know him now, and they'll forever know Pete because he's part of us. And obviously, my training is obviously I'm trying to be the next Pete, you know what I mean, or just be like him, really, because that's what New Zealand pro wrestling needs. There's more of us older guys being like Peter, giving back, and just making the scene better by being there and imparting our vision. And so I feel really good about it, Pete, the whole Peter situation, how for myself, and also for everybody else. It was just a really cool. That Peter Lane tournament was an incredible night. Packed house, sold out house. You were there, weren't you?
I was there. It was a good full circle moment for your career. Many of the things that you've talked about today, wrestling Jake Sheehan, who you've obviously got a lot of respect for and have been involved with throughout his career, paying honour to Pete. And if I'm hearing you right, maybe that was almost the goodbye that you wanted to give him. But I do wonder this. You are to be inducted into the Hall of Fame November 1 at IPW Necessary Evil. It was announced that evening by Jake Sheehan after your match. Now, another thing people won't know, that I know you wouldn't necessarily want to push out yourself or have pushed out at all, is you're a real driving force behind the New Zealand Hall of Fame. Just not this year.
No.
Just not this year. It came as a surprise to you.
Very.
I wanted to know your thoughts on, after you announced your retirement that night and the announcement came by Jake Sheehan that you were entering the Hall of Fame, I don't think I've seen a live crowd honour a living New Zealand professional wrestler like they did after those announcements were made. How did you feel with that reaction?
I was very humbled, actually. It was very overwhelming. I didn't expect that at all. And I actually, in my own head and how I felt, I was like, okay, I'm going to retire, but I don't want to be in the Hall of Fame yet. But when Jake said, I would like to induct you in the Hall of Fame, and that honestly, the place went, it was electric. Like, I literally, I had to take it was like a double take at the crowd. I was like, what? And then and I'm sitting there, and I was obviously a little bit emotional, but I thought in my head, what do you like? Who am I to say no? If the fans want it, then that's what we're going to go and do. And yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to it. Like you said, I was the driver with the last 5 Hall of Fames we've had in a row in the last 5 years, and I've been a driver of it because I really want. Because like I said at the start, we're very disconnected from the older guys. We had no connection. And I really want a connection from the younger guys to the guys that have paved the way, or the guys that have been and, had good careers or positive careers in New Zealand. And I want to connect the young with the old. I don't want that shit anymore. I don't want the, those just the old guys, they don't care about us. Or, the old guys, back in my day, we didn't do that. It's like, okay. I want to come together because one side has got all that knowledge that they could give to the new talent, and then you've got the new talent. It's just like a respect thing, and it's an actual etiquette wrestling thing. So it's something that I really, that's why I'm really pushed the Hall of Fame the last 5 years, and that's my reason. Really, is just I want the generations to connect. And that's making pro wrestling better because they're going, oh, these guys paved the way. And then the old guys are going, oh, they're doing a good job. Maybe not what I would have done, but they're doing a good job. And that to me is what it's about. For me anyway.
Well, Vinny, we're going to let you go shortly. But before we do, we like to end all of these interviews finding out 3 pieces of information from everyone that we interview on this podcast, just so we get to know you a little bit better. The first one being, which TV series are you currently watching?
Oh, stop it. Tulsa King. Sly. Love it. I've actually watched it all. Binged it. It would be my top. My second one was Suits, followed by Yellowstone.
Very good. Bit of a theme going there.
A little bit.
Describe your perfect day.
Going for a walk early morning, either on the beach or something like that, just to get everything flowing, get a workout in, and maybe just hang with some quality people, good mates, quality chat.
Nice.
Yeah.
Now, when your career is over, how will you define its success?
Basically, exactly how Peter did it. Exactly the same. By just being there, and if some people ask me for advice, I'll give it. If they don't, I won't. And I'll be there with no judgment, but I'll be there as a koro or somebody they can talk to, and that's pretty much how it is. I don't really care if people think I was the best wrestler or the GOAT or whatever, because it's not really about that. To me, where I am now, it's about being a koro or, just being someone they can ask for advice.
Well, November 1, IPW Necessary Evil Te Tahi Vinny Dunn. You are entering the New Zealand Hall of Fame. And I got to say, it is very well deserved. I'll be there. I look forward to seeing you on the night. Thank you so much for your time. Ladies and gentlemen, Te Tahi Vinny Dunn.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it, and I love you.
Hey guys, this is Gino Gambino, and you're listening to That Sweet Pop.
Well, there he is, ladies and gentlemen, the future New Zealand Professional Wrestling Hall of Famer, Te Tahi Vinny Dunn, November 1 at IPW Necessary Evil, inducted into that great and glorious Hall of Fame.
Oh, mate, you couldn't find a more deserving recipient of an award like that, given what he's given back to wrestling in this country, which gave him a lot as well. And look, I've had the pleasure of talking to Vinny, the person. And as we saw with the whole Mitch Fowl stuff, just a lovely human being who cares about people. He's a hell of a talent. And he'll be sorely missed from my family who love him. He's my wife's second favorite wrestler in IPW. So congratulations, my man. You thoroughly deserve it, and you will be thoroughly missed from an entertainment standpoint.
Yeah. Brad.
Dion.
Who am I?
Oh, bring it.
I spent decades in WWE as an in-ring talent and was known for making my opponents look like $1 million. But in the mid-80s, a change of attitude and a new manager saw my fortune turn around, giving me the most infamous run of my career, a cult following, even complete with chants echoing around the arenas for years.
Ooh.
Later in my career, I became known as a road agent and producer, but it's my early years as a jobber I'm most known for. Who am I?
I'm struggling. So it's my early years as a jobber, so making talent look great. Dion, you've done a very good one here. Elevated my opponents. So not Barry Horowitz.
Not Barry Horowitz.
Am I on the right track?
Oh, yeah.
I'm on the right track.
There's like 3 you could choose from, and Barry Horowitz would be one of them.
Iron Mike Sharp
is the second that you could choose.
Steve Lombardi.
It is Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler.
Yes, hey.
Man, the Brooklyn Brawler. You're right. Those were the 3, though, right? Iron Mike Sharp, Barry Horowitz, and Steve Lombardi. Those poor buggers show up week in, week out, and look at the lights.
Do you know what we should do one day, Dion? Is maybe when there's not a lot happening in the wrestling world for a podcast edition, we should do a Jobbers WrestleMania Ultimate card.
Oh,
add like the Dwayne Gills of the world into this, and like the Jim Powers, the Jim Brunzows. Like I know that they had little runs in tag teams, but that would be a lot of fun, I think. But man, like the Brooklyn Brawler, he managed by Bobby the Brain Heenan around that whole Red Rooster Terry Taylor angle. Heading into Mania 5, and I think he even appeared at Mania 5, didn't he? In Bobby Heenan's corner and attacked the Rooster. And and then became a pretty successful road agent, and I think one of Vince McMahon's sort of right hand men at some point as well. So don't know what Steve Lombardi's up to these days, but
such a pivotal role, though. As much as the word jobber is a little bit derogatory or seen that way, enhancement talent sounds a lot better, doesn't it?
It does.
But without all those jobbers, superstars of wrestling back in the day would not have seen the Ultimate Warriors, the Brutus Beefcakes, the you name it, as elevated and as big as superstars as we came to know. I suppose the thing that for me was always great though on a Superstars of Wrestling was when you did have a couple of named talent that were competing. It was very rare, and of course we were getting the C or the D show.
Yeah. And you'd get like Rick Martel versus Coco Beware, and you'd be like, damn, what an awesome match. But isn't it interesting? It's interesting how it's changed so much. And I think like, and this again might be a topic for another show, but Eric Bischoff really changed the industry by having Nitro, where every match was a main roster person versus a main roster person. So if you go back and watch the early Raws, you'd have a main event, which would be like Damien Demento versus Mabel, but then you'd also have Macho Man beating an enhancement talent. I mean, I even think Jeff Hardy was an enhancement talent.
Yeah, he was.
In the early years of Monday Night Raw, right? Both the Hardy Boys were. And if you go back and watch, you see Glenn Ruth. And who did Glenn Ruth become? He became Headbagger Thrasher. And he was a jobber on the early days of Raw. So it's interesting how the industry's changed now, where we as fans, we don't, unless you're, I think early doors Braun Strowman may have had some squash matches and Nia Jax, but we just don't see that anymore, right? And I think there's probably a place if you're building someone. So we talked about Obafemi earlier in the show. I think there's a place where you bring in Obafemi and you just have him squash local enhancement talent for like 2 months.
Yeah.
And
I mean, that's
and
not
just-
uncommon, is
Yeah.
it? That is a strategy that is still used from time to time, but yeah, quite rare. The Brooklyn Brawler. Never got himself too familiar with the washing machine, Brooklyn Brawler, as you remember. Dirty, ripped, the cigar. Yeah, hats off to you. Hey, we need to hand over a Tu Meke Trophy. Who's the winner this week, Brad?
So I want to give a shout out and special sort of consideration and just like I said, a shout out to Javon Evans and TNA's X Division champ Leon Slater for one of the best matches I have ever seen in my life. And recency bias is a thing, but goddamn, if you have not seen Bound for Glory, it was a good card with some questionable booking decisions, including in this match. But this match was unbelievable, and literally, I think we're seeing two of the future competitors of this business. We know how good Javon Evans is if you watch NXT. Leon Slater is unbelievably athletic as well. So a shout out to them for that match. If the booking of the end of that match, which is not their fault, had been better, they probably would have won this. But I'm going to stay with TNA and I'm going to stay with Bound for Glory. And this week's Tu Meke Award / Cup winner goes to the new TNA heavyweight champion of the world, Mike Santana.
Yes, Mike Santana.
Indeed, who defeated the current champ on Bound for Glory, which was a hell of a show. Trick Williams, of course, NXT's Trick Williams, losing the title to Mike Santana, a guy who not that long ago was stuck in catering in AEW as part of Pride and Powerful with his old tag team partner Ortiz, and has really rebuilt himself. He's over. He's got that sort of Puerto Rican following, and look, haven't watched too much of his stuff until the last year. Very, very charismatic and very, very good in the ring. So congratulations, Mike Santana. A hell of a job, Mike. My friend. And you may be carrying TNA into its new era with a broadcast deal on the very near horizon.
Yeah, how good. What a lot of pressure for the guy as well. And I think he's got broad shoulders. I think he can carry it. Very happy for Mike Santana. All right, folks, that just about wraps things up for us. If you want to know a little bit more about us, please head along to our website, www.thatsweetpop.com. Don't forget, every Monday, 8 p.m., we drop a new episode right here on YouTube. Please like and subscribe. Or if you're on the go, going for a run, or in the car, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. We're also available on socials if you want to interact with us on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. All right, Brad, you going to get into another week of all this wrestling action?
Indeed. Look, not too far away, Dion, October 26th, NXT Halloween Havoc in Arizona. Trick Williams and Ricky Saints main eventing that. JC Jane against the very much improved Tatum Paxley for the women's title. Hardy Boys, the NXT and TNA tag team champions who retired. The Dudley Boys, of course, at Bound for Glory as well. They take on Dark State. And closer to home, Aotearoa Showdown, Saturday, November 8th from the Dewdrop Events Center. Tickets, get them now. And same goes for IPW Necessary Evil, where Dion will be inducting Vinny into the Hall of Fame. That's on November 1 at Freeman's Bay Arena. They only go there once a year, I think, Dion. It's a really cool location. So head out there to Freeman's Bay. Get your tickets for that now. It's going to be a really special night. Jay Rilla versus Xander Taylor for the IPW New Zealand Heavyweight Championship.
Nice one. All right, folks, if you're stuck with us the whole way through, again, man, we appreciate you. Thank you so much for sharing your time with us. And until next time, have a good one.
Ka kite.